We're live. Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Equity, and we're live, and this is the pre-show. But quickly, let's do a quick sound check. Natasha, say hi.
Hello.
You sound great. Marianne.
Hi.
As always, perfect. And then Grace, I'm going to shut up now, and you're in charge.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to talk through the script really quick before we get started, see if there are any questions, and then at the end, we'll just talk through any logistics and make sure everyone's recording. So we are going to have our live intro because it's a live show. Take some time to talk through Sheryl Sandberg stepping down, which Natasha, Alex will toss to you and you will intro that story. Cool. Then we have, and just to say, like, that is super juicy at the top. And also we do have a lot of stuff to get through because right after that comes our deals of the week. We're going to do Affirm and Stripe. I want to make sure there that we talk about, Marianne, you being on the TechCrunch podcast as well. So finding a way to like boost that and cross promote a little bit, I think will be great. And then we get to talk Felt, Astro. Before I move on to the themes, are there any questions on like the deals of the week, Sheryl Sandberg part of the show?
I feel good.
Me too.
Cool. I think it's going to be straightforward. And then theme one, talk through Sydney Thomas and get to, there's some interesting questions here in the discussion, but we'll follow your lead on that conversation, Natasha. And then transition into Substack, and then from there transition into Columbus and the spotlight on Columbus. The note that I left in the script, Marianne, those billboards that are like trying to convince people who live in Austin to move to Ohio. Yeah. I don't know if those are related to this in any way, but I would assume definitely. The one that I saw was like when, it doesn't, basically the gist was like, it doesn't matter that you have 300 days of sunlight
if you can't go outside.
To be inside all the time.
Oh, shiz.
They're like very pointed billboards. Yeah.
That's the same one that I saw as well. That's so funny.
Yeah. There are some others too, just like about how they're like weirdly like digs at Ohio in some ways too. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, they're very weirdly worded, but we can throw that in there. I'm
going to struggle to not diss Ohio in that conversation, but I'm
not sure I quite understand though. Like, what does it mean? What good is it if you're inside all the time? Like, what does that have to do with Austin? Because it's hot?
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I thought it was a lower cost of living in Ohio thing. Like, you have to work all the time if you live in Austin, but if you just move your company to Ohio and you work from there, you have a lower cost of living so you can enjoy your life more.
Do you know why there's a lower cost of living in Ohio, Grace? Because
no one wants to live there. Save the Ohio.
Guys, I'm going to live there in like 10 years and it's just going to age so horribly.
I'm sorry, Natasha. No.
Hey, you live in Providence.
I live in a town full of colleges and culture.
OSU.
Yeah.
Ohio
OSU.
State, the Buckeyes.
There's a lot of great people who come out of OSU.
See, I told you I'm going to get in trouble. It's already beginning.
Yep.
You started early, but
we had to wake up a little bit. So
yeah.
All right.
And the last thing is that we're going to have questions at the very end. So not to forget the questions. And I'm going to move this like equity notification. Equity's taking some time off to the end of the script.
Cool.
So that we can remind people there. And then, sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to put a reminder to do questions at the end so I don't forget, because my brain is sawdust covered in slime.
All right. Are y'all ready to start?
I just started recording.
Oh, okay. I have been recording. Should I start a new one?
You can keep the same one. I think it's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kel, when you hear this.
Yeah.
10 minutes of me going bleh.
Yeah, same.
It'll be totally fine as long as everyone's recording.
Yes.
Okay. Let's rock and roll. Let's do a live show. By the way, thanks for everyone who's tuned in on Hoppin' and Twitter Spaces. We It's fun to do this with you all. And so thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Agreed.
we really
Co-sign.
do. Thank you.
All right, let's all take a deep breath in. We're going to do an equity live in 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome back to Equity, a podcast about the business of startups where we unpack the numbers and the nuance behind the headlines. My name is Alex. I'm joined today by the full crew. We are live on this fine Thursday on Hopin and Twitter Spaces. And Marianne and Natasha, there is a couple things that we have to get to, about 473. So the next 30 minutes should be absolutely relaxed, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe a little bit. We'll see.
We'll see. We have funding rounds, Natasha. Marianne, we got breaking news. We got to talk about Substack. It's going to be a pretty packed episode. I think let's go ahead and start with the most important news that's going on, which is that after a super long tenure, Natasha, Sheryl Sandberg is stepping down as COO of Facebook, ending essentially what feels like a leadership duopoly atop the world's largest social network.
Oh my God. Yeah. This is the kind of headline that you rarely expect to see. Maybe given the amount of people that have been leaving Meta from the executive suite over the past year, we could have somewhat expected it. But someone like Sheryl Sandberg is so like synonymous with Meta, formerly known as Facebook at this point, that I was shocked to see this. And obviously she's historic for so many reasons. She became the board's first female member. Became the board's first female member when she joined in 2012, steered the company through IPO, growth, controversy. And like you kind of just said, she's Zuckerberg's second hand in command. And so for her to depart and soon be replaced by someone who's going to be less public facing, to me, just signals a whole new era of Meta.
Yeah, Marianne, the important thing to me here is I think she is synonymous with Facebook, but I don't think she will be synonymous with Meta because it feels like a new chapter in the company and therefore a new chapter in the leadership. And maybe the metaverse wasn't her jam.
I mean, it's quite possible. There's been a lot of other things I think that may have led up to this, some tension between her and her brother over some PR blunders she's had over the past couple of years, just things like some inappropriate things, like for example with her ex-boyfriend trying to keep some of his actions hush hush. You know, she's had some negative headlines, but yeah, I mean, this is a new chapter for Meta in general as a company. Sheryl's had a pretty crucial role in leading Facebook forward. It seems like the new COO will not have as much power as she did, so I think that's very much intentional on Mark's part.
She had a lot of kind of accumulated soft power because don't forget that, you know, Mark controls the company via voting rights. And so he is the monarch. But I think Sheryl, just given her long tenure as kind of not co-pilot's not the right word, but like the lengthy co-leader, there you go, had accumulated to herself a lot of authority and responsibility. And I don't think you can replicate that. You can't command Z, you can command V that, you know?
No.
100%. I want to throw to Casey Newton's piece, who writes The Platformer, about Sheryl Sandberg stepping down, because I think he did a really good job summing up her impact, but also in a way his surprise that it took her this long to leave because her tenure had been so colorful, but also toward the end, it felt like she was staying on longer than maybe she even needed to, or that her title, even her job description, didn't match how massive her title was. So I think that, to me, that just made me think, like, I wonder where Sheryl's going next, because so many of these Meta executives have left to start crypto companies or start funds or all those things. So her next move is going to be obviously widely covered on TC and this pod, whenever it happens.
There's only one possibility, Marianne. Obviously, she's the newest general partner at Andreessen Horowitz because everyone else is taking on that job. So why not Sheryl?
I mean, I don't doubt anything these days.
Here's the thing. How long do you really want to be number two to a monarch? And two, 10 year sounds like 10 year to me, and it's been longer than that. So a changing of the guard, not an enormous surprise. All right, let's put that aside. We'll have more, guys, when more stuff comes out. But that's the key kind of breaking headline before the show. And now, deals of the week. Marianne, finally, after so long, we are bringing BNPL back to the pod because we have neglected it for like 18 minutes.
Yeah, right. Buy now, pay later, or BNPL, was made headlines again this week when Affirm announced that it was teaming up with Stripe, payments giant. And what this means is that Affirm Affirm's buy now, pay later technology will now be made available to Stripe's customers. So that means that they will be able to pay for things in installments, whereas before they were not able to do so. This is a big deal in that Stripe has millions of customers. So this really opens up a huge window for Affirm to make more money, let's put it bluntly. And then I guess for Stripe, it's a big deal because it's able to better retain customers and attract new ones because it can now offer this buy now, pay later at checkout.
Does Affirm have a deal with Stripe exclusively, or can Stripe/Affirm work with anyone who's competing with each other?
Yeah, I don't. They never use the word exclusive, but I think it's pretty just much understood that once you team up with one buy now, pay later provider, you don't team up with another, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But vice versa, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I was asking was I was kind of like, this took a long time to happen, right? This feels like such a layup. And so I wonder if there was like a discount or something behind the scenes that made it finally work. I don't know. Maybe it's politics. I have no idea. Alex,
I would love to know, like behind the scenes, what led up to this. I know that the whole space in general has been we've had mixed stuff happening. Klarna we're talking about cutting valuation by a third, right? It was valued at $45 billion last year. Had to do some layoffs. So, and then Affirm actually had a good fiscal third quarter, like revenue was way up. So there's a lot going on, which I'm going to unpack, by the way, on the TechCrunch podcast this week, if you want to hear more details on that.
Hell yeah. So if you want long form, Marianne, if you're not getting enough as a veteran from equity, there's more coming on the TechCrunch podcast, which is focused on individual writers and the staff. It's quite a lot of fun, brand new, just out. Natasha, to your point, I had the same question. And so I looked up before the show, different BNPL support inside of Stripe. And they do have support for kind of Afterpay and ClearPay and Klarna and Affirm. But my read of what Marianne put together in this situation is that it's a tighter integration. And so it's now much easier to do kind of BNPL via Stripe without having to have separate customer accounts and so forth. So my read is a tighter integration and more of a first party or tier one experience.
More seamless, as PR speak would say.
Yes.
I totally. I think the partnership, I think any other like month even, I would just read the partnership and be like, oh, smart. But this time I'm like, but why? Or I guess not but why, but why now? So I don't know, maybe like I'm sure we'll get more Stripe content as time goes on. Marianne, you've been so busy with the Stripe of XBeat.
I'm sorry. Let's play a fun little game before we move on. Stripe was worth 95 billion in its last private round. There's been some reductions to that from Fidelity and so forth, but still, let's call it 80. All right. Affirm, per Google Finance, as we talk, 7.5. So like
it was 8.5 the other day.
Well, I don't think things have been going that well in
That's
the
a story.
stock market. Everything's a story these days. My gosh. But the point is, like, Stripe could just buy Affirm if they wanted to. They could even do kind of a hilarious reverse merger and use Affirm as a SPAC, which would be very funny.
Well, Square or Block acquired Afterpay, so it's certainly not a wild notion, Alex.
By the way, I meant to look this up, but that deal was mostly stock, right?
I don't remember. I think so. Yeah.
Because since that deal was announced, the value of Block stock has gone down, which effectively reprices the deal. I think commensurately with how we've seen BNPL startups themselves be repriced. There's actually some positive synergy there. And that's ironic.
Spicy, definitely spicy.
Let's move on to something that's not spicy, but instead a bit of a surprise. We have not talked about maps on the show ever, I think. But back in the old days, mash-ups often involved maps, hence the publication Mashable. And it's back. Natasha, what's going on?
Yeah, well, I will say this does feel a little spicy because, as I joked on Twitter, a map startup raising in this economy feels like a feat in and of itself, and the co-founders laughed along at that. But I wrote this week about Felt raising 15 million, and it's built by John Durek and Sam Hashimi. And both of them are kind of believing that maps are going to be the next big medium for people to express impact. But, more lucratively, maybe that enterprises are going to be using their product long-term, similar to how Notion and Figma are used to express kind of different thoughts, specifically around climate, because they have a lot of data and features right now that can help people create maps to express how climate will yeah, will show up in the world. So I was really excited to see something like that. Felt like kind of like a moonshot get funded right now.
More consumery. Marianne, did you get a chance to play with it?
I did not get a chance to play with it. I think I was most curious, Natasha, maybe you can help me better understand like what is so unique about what they're doing compared to what else is out there in the world of maps?
Yeah. So if we think about Google Maps, it's pretty hard to collaborate with other people that want to kind of tweak and add to a map. So I think the biggest differentiation that Felt has right now is they're adding a social layer, but they're also adding like a very data driven and fact checked high quality layer is what they're saying. So my view is like right now maps, the way we think of them, are pretty static. We use them to get from point A to point B. And some of us, if we're good at using these apps, can like add like our favorites and kind of pinpoint some of our favorite locations on a map. But Felt wants it to be more like answering questions like, what are the chances that a hurricane will impact this area in this way? What flood risk do we have? Stuff like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. I mean, I admit I am not good at reading maps. So I do think that's fascinating though, that it's not just like, here's where this is and here's where that is, but like really providing some valuable information that could be very helpful for companies.
Marianne, I'm also directionally impaired, as they say. And I got a chance to sign up for Felt because I've known about the company because John Durek is part of the Read Margins team. And so Margins is a great publication that if you care about startups, you probably already read it. So anyways, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So I did sign up. I did go through the onboarding process and it's cool. I think so. I'm kind of on board with this. I don't know exactly what I'm going to use it for, but the idea of having a lot of layers that I can bring into a map and kind of, I hate the phrase tell a story, but convey something was very exciting to me.
Yeah, cool. Actually, I want to like kind of hear more about the onboarding process in your words. Like that is really cool. That one, I mean, the news other than them raising with that they're launching to public, so we can finally use it and play around. But like, what kind of stood out to you?
Okay, so I'm going to get very nerdy for a second and then bring it right back to the
yes,
topic. Yes,
exactly my goal with that question. So
okay, so I'm an enormous nerd for map-based video games. So I play a lot of Civilization, I play Crusader Kings, and so I spend a big chunk of my time literally just looking at maps and clicking around on them in a kind of gaming setting. So I was curious about, how is it going to be to onboard to a map-based product that is not a game but probably has some similarities? Pretty wrong about that. It's much more of a zoomed in feel. And so the onboarding process made you do a bunch of tasks, a bit like a game onboarding process, like click here to add a pin, click here to bring in a layer, click here to scroll around. Here's how you draw on the map. And it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. I think it was around New York City. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was intuitive. I thought it was fun. And I wouldn't want to do it on a mobile device, but if you have a mouse and a keyboard, it's great. So hell yeah, Felt.
Definitely, like the biggest challenge is kind of what you just said. It's like fun, interesting, and maybe at some point, as of right now, limited to desktop comfort. So will us three directionally impaired people want to use this on a day-to-day basis, similar to Notion and Figma? That's, I guess, the big bet of Felt.
Are Notion and Figma mobile friendly?
I don't know if the mobile friendly bit, but I do use like them. I mean, I use Notion, no big deal, but I use it on desktop and it's fine.
I can't use the phrase that you used to describe yourself involving your Notion usage on the podcast, but I will note that it is becoming increasingly accepted amongst the kind of the Gen Z generation, the younger people out there, to have what we might consider enterprise software part of their personal stack. And so I'm very curious to see if Felt will find some extra tailwinds just from that fact, frankly.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. I know we need to probably move on, but one of the things I'm most curious about is that like right now, is it geared toward consumers, but it plans to go after the enterprise later, or is it both or what right now?
Yeah, first consumer, then enterprise, basically citing Notion as like an example of how that's worked in the past, which obviously helped investors get on board, but it's a good point.
All right, so I'm going to grab my deal and I'm going to talk about quick commerce, which is, look, I didn't think we were going to see any more capital for this particular sector ever again. And yet here we are. Indonesia-based Astro just raised $60 million for 15-minute grocery delivery. There's somehow still capital for this. And the reason why I'm surprised, guys, is that not that I don't understand the consumer draw, because who doesn't want 2 bottles of vodka and toothpaste brought to your house ASAP. But it's that the companies in the space that raised so much money last year have been going through layoffs and shutdowns. So, Fridge No More shut down, Zap laid off 10% of its staff, Gorillas in Berlin cut 300 workers. I'm just reading my own notes here. Avo slashed 500, Jiffy backed out of consumer, Getter cut 14% of its staff. So in that context, how shocking is it that Astro raised $60 million?
I mean, I think that the difference here is that in Indonesia, this is not commonplace. So it's still very much a burgeoning sector, I guess, and the need and demand is probably there. So I think if this company is Astro, right? If Astro can do it right, it could grow and be very, very successful. And maybe it can use these other companies as a model of what not to do when growing, like don't overhire or be careful with expansion or things like that. So I think it can be very much market specific on the success rate, I guess, chances of success for specific companies too.
And just digging into that, Marianne, I mean, essentially you're thinking about like country specific issues, like the regulatory climate, accessibility of gig-based labor versus other forms. And so it might vary essentially.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And not just that, I mean, just internet adoption and the populations that were slow to this, of course, the pandemic forced a lot of people to get on board with it when they weren't before, like online shopping. But I think, here in the US, it's just so common and mainstream that we forget sometimes that in other countries that it's not.
Yeah. This piece, like you're kind of describing, it made me think a lot about like artificial growth and just like the COVID pullback, because so in the piece, we talked about how like on-demand delivery got this boost in Indonesia, but e-grocery penetration in the country still remains low, and it's estimated to be, I think, 0.5% by 2022, compared to South Korea's 34% in 2020. And so to me, it was like, okay, like did the artificial growth of demand during a pandemic just help the people that were, I guess, already aware of it, or kind of get those people to do it more, or did it actually change the overall wave of people that are doing it is my big thing.
It's unfair to compare any country's penetration of a digital service to South Korea, one of the most digitally forward societies on the planet, and maybe a better comp would be like Wyoming or something, like a state that's kind of like, doing its thing. And we'll talk more about states that are just doing their thing
there we go.
There later on in the show. Bit of a taste of foreshadowing there. Anyways, I think this just goes to show, last little note that I know we have to move on, but like, we're not always right is what this reminded me of, because I would have bet you lunch that we were done seeing this type of round, and yet here it is. So it's a good reminder to me that my biases are not always correct.
Can I add one last little note? This also, speaking of being wrong, like YC basically a few weeks ago wrote to its founders saying that international companies, asset heavy companies, low margin companies, hard tech, and other companies with high burn and long time to revenue will have the slowdown will have a disproportionate impact on them. This is the counter argument. And so I'm sure a lot of founders are taking this as a boost of energy, but it just shows that even this slowdown and black swan moment that is definitely happening in a lot of places isn't happening to everyone, at least right now.
Yeah.
And it should be noted, there were quite a number of large US-based investors that participated in this round, right? And Excel, was it Sequoia? Am I remembering correctly?
I think Tiger was in this one, wasn't it? Maybe the last $5 that Tiger had to invest.
Sequoia, Lightspeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So a murderer's row of names that we know, implying that the smart money is still quite active in the space. So Q-commerce, still a thing. Now let's drop the deals of the week and talk about some bigger things. Natasha, you have a story up on the site about a spinoff of a sort that we don't usually see, and we're quite excited about this one.
Oh my gosh, yes. So this was like my I guess yesterday when I logged on, or 2 days ago, I don't know what time it is, I saw a tweet that someone is starting a new venture fund, and that compared to all the doom and gloom got my attention immediately. So Precursor Ventures, Sydney Thomas, who was actually the firm led by Charles Hudson, it was their first hire. And she just spun out to start her own venture firm, which she announced on Twitter. We have barely any details about it, such as check size, name, or what she's targeting or what kind of fund she's raising. So the most exciting part to me about this move was just her decision to build and start a fund during this environment of all environments. And I think she had a good response when I talked about that, because so many people have been warning me that emerging fund managers will struggle. And her response was, I think it's crazy to start a fund in any environment. And I haven't really paid attention to a lot of discussions because the early stage markets have zero correlation to the stock market more generally. So there's that for a counter argument.
That counter argument can be summarized as, screw you, I'm doing it anyways, I think. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really admirable that she's doing this, especially in this environment. I think it shows a lot of confidence and maybe not just her own capabilities as an investor, but in the early stage world as a whole. And I think one of the things I found really interesting about what she is thinking in terms of a thesis is that she really wants to back founders at the very early stage and keep on backing them, right? Like she doesn't want to just back them and then go away. Is that right, Natasha?
Yeah. I think to me, hearing that usually I would be like, yeah, doesn't everyone do that? But she kind of went on the record to say that she thinks a lot of the promise of multi-stage funds, AKA the ones that a startup can come to for their seed through like Series F, is not playing out as planned, because multi-stage firms will outsource their seed or their pre-seed or seed investments. And then those same startups, when they come back to partners for their Series A or later stage rounds, those partners don't really know them and they kind of have to repitch all over again. And so she's like, it's actually a huge gap right now in the market to have your investor stay with you from pre-seed to seed and kind of not lose you. So I think that will be like the biggest differentiation. And it taught me a lot about, I don't know, my preconceived notions on how Tiger and other firms were acting.
Right.
So I was really struck by this note about how multi-stage funds aren't living up to their potential, because if you go back a year, maybe a year and a half, and think back to when everyone was launching a SPAC to take other companies public, we were talking about how, firm X or firm Y could now do seed through public markets. And wouldn't it be great if you were an investor to raise money from the same firm all the way through and not worry about going out there and finding new sources of capital and blah, 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 soup to nuts capital.
Right.
Well, SPACs are kaput, seeds in trouble, and doesn't seem to have worked out, shockingly enough. Who would have thought?
Yeah. It's making me challenge my preconceived notions. And like, I feel like, I don't know, I'm kind of just like being critical of myself right now, but it's just making me think a lot about like, just because it sounds like a good idea doesn't mean it's actually going to happen.
Well, I think it would work great if you had fewer partners and didn't break up stage by stage investing by tranche, right? So if you think about like Bessemer, they have an early stage team, they have a growth team, they're distinct and they're supposed to be. But if you're going to tell people that we're one firm that will take you from, pre-seed to IPO or to a SPAC, whatever, I think you have to have a bit more consistency in the people making the decisions. And that's tough because VCs specialize based on stage usually. And so you're going to have to do a handoff from the pre-seed to the seed team, seed to the early stage to the late stage, late to the growth. And then essentially it's just 6 different firms kind of stacked up like a really shitty layer cake.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's just counter of the way it should be. I mean, if I just put myself in the shoes of a founder, and if I have an investor who believes in me in a very early stage, is willing to make a bet on me at that very early stage, and then like goes away soon after, that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, you want someone who, if they believe in you that much to invest in you at that early of a stage, you would expect that they want to be there, for the ride, to help you grow, watch you grow, all that good stuff. So I don't know, maybe it's the idealist in me, but like, I feel like if you're going to back a company at such an early stage, that you want to stick with them.
Yeah,
totally.
I mean, I think we talk about signaling risk a lot, Natasha.
Yeah. And Becca from your team just had a really interesting piece on, oh my God, did I accidentally just nickname someone I shouldn't have? Sorry.
She goes by Becca. You're right.
Okay. I don't know, but her byline says Rebecca. So I guess
she's also Rebecca on Slack. I haven't figured that out yet, but she prefers Becca.
Okay, cool. So she wrote a piece right now about how pro rata is another one of those venture capital assumptions that are being questioned right now. And so I feel like I haven't read the entire piece yet, but plugging that as an interesting follow-up for people who are interested in this part of the conversation, a lot of things that are being assumed are kind of feeling tension. Before, that tension used to be, well, everyone just wants more. And now it's like, well, do we want more? Should we keep investing? I feel like there's a lot of things that are just like suddenly being up for grabs.
Yeah, dead on. And so just to add a little extra to that, because it's a topic that I'm super curious about, pro rata rights essentially allow an early stage investor to defend their percentage stake in a company as it raises more money. And so it gives them the theoretical right to buy more stock at the next price in the next round. So let's say you own 5% at seed, you can defend that at the series A, B, C, and so forth. But what happened was, as late stage money became more and more aggressive, early investors were essentially told your pro rata rights are meaningless. And that was a bummer, because a lot of these early stage investors depended on pro rata as a way to defend essentially their winners. It was their way to kind of double, triple, quadruple down. And now that there's less money and the late stage is less busy, people are now saying, please fill your pro rata rights. In fact, please do it. And so we've seen a complete inversion once again. And we're trying to figure out what's going on, Marianne. And it's tough because things are changing so fast.
What a reversal.
What a reversal. You know what's not reversing though? Email. We still use it. Sadly, well, I don't, but everyone else does.
I made a joke earlier how like I was excited to cover felt because it's not trying to disrupt email. Like that's not the medium that they've chosen. But here we are talking about it anyways. What's going on, Alex?
I have this every single night. I'm like, I'm going to plug in the iPad. I'm going to wake up in the morning. And when I'm drinking coffee with the dogs, I'm going to check email. And then I'm going to go to my office and sit down and do some work. And then every morning I read a novel instead. I ignore email. And then
that sounds like great work-life balance. I know you don't have a good work-life balance, but it sounds like I'm glad you're creating space for you.
I'm trying to. Anyways, the point is I'm bad at email, but many people are still betting on email, one of which is Substack. And there's been some news from the world. Sorry, it was way too long of a segue into the topic. We just ended up there. Substack tried to raise, according to some reporting from around the internets, and it turns out that the company will not raise a Series C right now. And according to the reporting that we heard, essentially the company was looking to raise between 75 and 100 million at a 750 to $1 billion valuation via the New York Times. Shout out to them for getting this set of data. And my question for you two is, why do they need $100 million? Or why would they want $100 million?
I mean, their revenue last year was it 9 million? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's shockingly low, I think, for the hype around Substack.
Yeah. Sorry. I just feel like we're all just like, yeah. No, the 9 million revenue at a $1 billion valuation to me is a insane disconnect. But sure, we're used to insane disconnects. I think the craziest question, like you already said, Alex, is like, what are they spending money on? It does not seem like a resources heavy business unless they're paying a lot to get exclusive rights with writers, or I don't know. It's like so confusing to me. We're at a media company. We should know this answer. What is
they've raised what, 80, is it $86 million?
Something like that. I think their last round was 65 at a $675 million post-money valuation. Yes. So I want to point out that I totally empathize with your reactions to the fact that they were shooting for a roughly 100x trailing run rate metric. But I mean, think about it. Sure. I mean, I wish TechCrunch Plus was valued at 1,000x revenue because then I could retire. But think about to where they were when they raised that Series B. Because they raised 65 at a 675, a year ago when they didn't have 9 million in revenue. So they probably had an even more aggressive revenue multiple back then, which means that Andreessen, who had led their Series A and B, valued the company at a price point that now seems unsustainable. And I'm curious why Andreessen isn't swooping in with more money, because Andreessen, this is going to blow your mind, is not poor.
Andreessen startups have been having layoffs. I think Andreessen's, a lot of them they're backing big moonshots, fuzzy startups that have raised a ton of money. And I just covered yesterday that Loom, which is Andreessen Horowitz backed, has laid off a number of its staff, I think 14% of its staff. And so I don't necessarily know if that's directly correlating to them not making extensions, but they might be getting more disciplined right now because a lot of those companies that have that stamp of approval are scaling back.
I mean, also, I think just in general, right? Last year, valuations were just nuts all around. I think there was a ton of maybe unwarranted valuation setting going on last year. And so This is in part why we're in this environment that we're in.
I just want to point out the danger of this is going to sound a little over dramatic, but the danger of venture capital in certain areas. And here's why I say that. Substack has done some things really, really well. Substack's product as a writer super great. I really like it. I have a couple different Substacks that I've tinkered with. It's where I host my personal blog. I recently just sent out an email blast to, the people that subscribe to my personal blog. It's great. And they have a dead simple business model. They take 10%. Cool. Easy peasy if you charge, hell yes. And then they went even further and said, hey, you know what we're going to do? Provide some legal backstops and some other things that you probably can't really buy on your own. And so we'll bake that in. Amazing. Why does it need venture capital to do this? Why? That's where I begin to kind of worry, because if they're going to raise 100 million, they're probably going to have a much bigger, purview, product set, whatever. It feels like they nailed this thing, and now it has to become bigger somehow faster. And I don't know if it scales like that.
Yeah. This reminds me of that conversation we had a year and a half ago, which is why does this company need so much damn money? How much would they raise at that point? Was it 100 million?
It was something around there. It was a check size that we kind of sat around and we're like, that's an odd amount of money.
Right. And so I don't know. I think Substack has a lot of fair critiques about censorship, free speech. A lot of those debates have happened, and that's maybe not for this conversation right now, but maybe we're missing something yet again. Were they secretly creating another product?
Well, they launched an app, which is not cheap, and their app's pretty slick. I downloaded it, and somehow it's connected to my Apple Watch. I don't know how that happened. And so now whenever someone publishes a Substack, my watch goes ding and scares the shit out of me.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah. So every time Stream and Destroy publishes, I get zinged. It feels like punishment, actually. But the company's also getting into podcasts, and they have had the pro system where they pay people to show up and write for at least a year or two. But that's a small amount of money compared to the amount they've raised. So it can't be the main price point.
I don't know.
So,
I think this is not an issue exclusive to Substack. I think that many a startup over the past year and a half or so, or last year rather, raised a lot more money than they maybe needed to. And then they had a lot of expectations that they had to try to meet and are struggling to do so. And now we're seeing a lot of layoffs as a result, things like that. So I've always been most impressed by a lean and mean mentality, to be honest. When I interview startups and they tell me, they've only got a couple of dozen employees, they chose not to raise a whole lot of VC money, I'm actually impressed, because if you can operate in a capital efficient manner, grow your company still, and do it without like spending like crazy, to me, that's a lot more impressive, honestly, than saying you raise tens of millions of dollars and then you're still struggling to grow.
Yeah, I want to throw a positive blanket on the end of the story before we move on. And it's as follows. My job, aside from talking with my friends, which is somewhat part of work, is writing. That's really the core of it. And I love it. And I don't want to do anything else. And the fact that Substack has shown that, 9 million in revenue implies 90 million in platform spend during 2021. It's going up. It's going to be, well over 100 million, presumably this year. It goes to show that there is a large market for the value of words. And so I think Substack has really shown that that's the case. And I think it nails their initial pitch. I'm just a little perplexed by their venture capital story. So I don't want to sound dismissive of the business or the idea. It's just trying to suss out where they go now is the question. But I'll just say, as a writer, I use it. So, what kind of, that's my hoped attempt at fairness, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, anything that's helping promote writers and exposing them to a broader audience, I'm like generally in support of. But yeah, I agree with all that you said.
All right. Now, Natasha, as the resident defender of all things Buckeye, as the Ohio mascot on the team, as the Midwest Maven, just going for alliteration for the sake of it. Why are we talking about Columbus today?
Well, because of Graders and Skyline Chili, clearly. But if you don't get the reference, you may, after tuning into our city spotlight, we had one this week all about the Midwest Tech Hub. And it was really fun to read and hear what people had to say, because VCs have put over $3 billion into the city over the past 20 years, particularly healthcare and insurtech. And unlike Austin, Marianne, Columbus, Ohio feels like a lesser known startup scene. So it's always fun to spotlight those areas.
I mean, I've always been a fan of underserved markets. I grew up in North Carolina, and we've got the Research Triangle Park there that's kind of booming. I live in Austin, which up until recently was sort of seen like an underdog in the tech world. So I love it when smaller markets get attention. I think Christine Hall did an amazing job writing about Columbus and why it's an emerging tech scene. I was fascinated by the different things going on there. I think one important thing to know is there's a lot of insurtech happening in the city, and maybe people didn't realize that.
Where is Root based?
It's there.
It's there.
That's what I thought. Because I was remembering that there was one of the major insurtechs that went public. Now, Root's struggled post IPO, but all of them have. So it's not really a knock against Columbus. But I mean, it goes to show that you can build very modern high tech companies in Columbus.
Yeah, and I've written about another insurtech there called Branch that offers home and auto insurance. It's a carrier actually. It's raised a bunch of money, and so I think that's one area that's growing a lot there. And I don't know, these markets. It's interesting. It costs less to live there. Technically, you would think it would cost less to hire there. I was joking with Grace, our producer, before the show, because here in Austin there are even billboards referencing things like. What is so great about living? What's so great about all this sunshine if you have to be trapped indoors all day? I think a knock at Austin, I guess, compared to Ohio. I don't know if it was the heat or lower cost of living.
Can I translate that?
Yeah, please, because I jarbled that all up.
No, you did great.
Garbled, jumbled. I just made a new word.
Don't worry. I said Command Z, Command V earlier instead of Command C, Command V. So this
equity.
is
we love language and words.
How does talking work? The issue with Austin is that you think by looking at the prevalence and frequency, which you have beautiful days, is going to lead to a life of outdoor freedom and fun. And then you discover once you visit there that being outside in Austin is punishment because it's so hot and it's gorgeous and the food is good and I love the people. I attended a small music festival there once. I love it, but it's just too hot. And so you end up kind of like racing indoors to stand in the AC. And if you want to be cold, you can just live in Providence where it's cold all the time. So there you go.
Yeah. I took it as a dig at the weather as well. But, I just thought that was interesting to see a billboard here in Austin. Like, I don't know who paid for that. I guess somebody in Ohio.
That's a great question, Marianne. Like who was like, this is the good use of my resources right now. I mean, I for one am kind of excited and maybe nostalgic to see like geography be a thing again, because I feel like the conversation was so like anyone can be anywhere. And I always ask people, where are you usually based these days? Because there's no point trying to pin people down to certain locations. But these city spotlights and billboards, I guess, are very much like reminding me of pre-2020 vibes, and I'm not against it. Feels good.
Yeah, but Intel is also building some factories right outside of Columbus too, right? Like some chip factories, and they're going to hire, I think they said 3,000 construction workers in the short term, but like well over 1,000 employees in the long term, with an average salary of around $135,000, which is huge for a city like that.
Whew, that goes far.
I just want to say that I'm not the one who said, quote, city like that on the show. That was Marianne. That was Texas talking down to Ohio.
She had to punch back real quick. Yeah, I support it.
It's the classic Marianne style that you don't realize she's dissed you until like 2 sentences later. And you're like, wait a minute. That polite sounding phrase was mean. I want to say though, like I went to college in Chicago, and I got to be there when the Chicago tech scene was maturing. You know, like Groupon happened when I was there and really blew up, and then Sprout Social. And now Chicago has a plethora of technology companies that we talk about, M1 Finance and so forth. And Austin at that time was this little up and coming scene, now an established base with every major tech company with an office and VCs and et cetera. And now we're talking about Columbus. And so it does seem to be an increasingly wide number of cities that have a particular hub. And in the case of Columbus, not just insurtech, it's also just kind of health tech in general. And I think the stories that we wrote about it mentioned a concentration of talent that's recycling. And so they found a niche that they can dominate in or lead in. And so Columbus, Ohio may not become the hub of enterprise SaaS, but it may become the health tech and insurtech hub that people in the know about. And so shout out to Ohio, apparently.
Yes, state, right?
Oh,
like State. A bunch of talent coming out of there that I think a lot of companies are drawn to.
To represent the bear side of Columbus, Ohio, as I am a reporter, and I will do that, is I think concentration can be both a positive and a negative. So in 2021, investment doubled in Columbus, but half of that money went to only two companies, Olive and Path Robotics. And so I do think like heading into a downturn or being in one right now, depending on where you land on your optimism today, that's interesting that it's only those two companies. And we also saw Root, as you kind of alluded to, Root has had layoffs. They laid off 330 people. And so I think the talent specifically may either stay at their jobs, if you look at those two recently venture-backed companies, Olive and Path, or in Root's case, I wonder what those newly laid off people are going to do, because in tech and more, I guess, advanced startup ecosystems, there's VC fellowships for you. There's so many startups hiring and disagreeing with the pullback. And so I wonder if you're located in a place like Columbus, what that means.
Yes. And if you have a sector that leads your city, and then there is a slowdown that impacts that sector, your city will be slowed down. But that's just the risk of living in smaller areas. I mean, the counter argument is move to San Francisco or Manhattan. And I've lived in one of those two places. It was lovely, but it made me feel poor. So,
so many companies hiring remotely now too, right? So you're not as limited as you might have once been.
Actually, now that you say that, Marianne, all my points about geographic specificity feel a little silly because I'm thinking in a pre-COVID mindset, frankly.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of my friends are going in, so I don't know. It's weird. Like, a lot of my friends are going in 2 to 3 times a week now. I think we're
what?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I cannot relate. So I think it's like, I mean, I don't know. Everyone disagrees on if she go in or not, but it's definitely a thing.
Yeah. And I would also like to just add that Austin's seeing a slowdown, right? And people moving here. So I feel like it too was a victim of this pandemic boom that's kind of dropping off right now.
Yeah. It turns out the grass isn't always greener on the other side of the climate divide.
Miami has also kind of been quiet, right? Have you guys seen Miami tweets in a while?
Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I have actually, because Miami coin was a flop. I did see tweets about that.
Okay.
Shocker.
You're so right.
Here's an inside tip. Providence coin blowing up. It's going, quote, to the moon. No, I'm kidding. We have to stop, but I do have a PSA for everyone before we go, which is that Equity, this fine show that comes out 3 times a week to podcast platforms everywhere, is off next week. We will instead be replaying a couple of greatest hits on Wednesday and Friday. But the three of us and the fine production crew that helps keep the show on the road, Grace, Maggie, and Kel, we're going to be sitting back and breathing because it has been a really fun half year. But I think it's fair to say we're exhausted.
Yeah. Oh my God. Just a little bit.
Yes. So we're gonna. Oh, okay. We now have a tweet up. If you're on the audio, Natasha, read it for us, please.
Yeah. So Jason Calacanis, who does not need a description because people probably know he is, retweeted the NY Times and other media outlets are so tweaked we didn't give them press passes, that they are referring to the All In Summit as a tech conference in Miami. This is what come up when I typed in Miami and tech on Twitter to see if anyone tweeted about it recently. And let me just say, All In Summit is a tech conference in Miami. Yes. That is literally the definition of it. What do you want to be called?
I go on Jason's show occasionally, and I think he just brings me on to kind of get mad at him. In this case, Jason knows better because he's run publications before. In fact, he was the original partner of the TechCrunch 40 and 50 events before he went off to found Launch and build his own media thing. So he knows this is bullshit, but it sells well with his audience, which are relatively anti-establishment media. And so this is essentially what the Teal Bros love to call virtue signaling.
We love it. We love it. In his words, not mine.
Anyways, Equity's off next week. And with that, we're going to close up the show. Marianne, Natasha, as always, an absolute treat. And I look forward to returning as recharged as a brand new 9-volt battery in about a week's time. So I'll see you guys then.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Command V has to be one of my dumber fuck ups.
Jarbled.
I don't even know.
Sorry, Marianne, what'd you say?
Jarbled. I made a new word. It can't be so much worse.
It feels
than that.
so right. Both of the things you guys said, I didn't realize are wrong. Yeah, so I think we're all on the same wavelength.
I agree with you.
I tried so hard to hold it together. Oh man.
We do have a couple of questions.
Oh shit, let's do it.
Yeah. The first one that I want to spend some time talking about is someone said, tired of hearing VCs YC talk about economic downturn, which I think we can all relate to. Can we talk more about Elon?
Who asked this question?
Okay, so Chris Gates is in the room. Chris Gates
This was a plan.
was on our
not
Twitter
Chris
space, and I
Gates.
think it's Chris.
Yeah, this is not our former producer. Yeah.
Okay.
Was it Jackie?
Okay.
She's also on the Twitter space.
It was
Sorry.
not. Are there some current thoughts on Elon? How are y'all feeling about it? Exactly. Okay, great.
No. I have
I was
one.
going to say no comment, but Alex, please.
I always have something to say, but I try to not talk. That way there's more room, because otherwise I just ramble. Anyways, here's my thought about Elon. Hasn't that gone quiet? Isn't that interesting? Much less shit posting from Elon on Twitter about the Twitter deal. So I wonder what's going on. I wonder if he's going to be forced to buy it, or if he's trying to find a way to finagle his way out of it, or to get a lower price. But I don't think Twitter's going to let him go, because they didn't want to get bought, remember? And he made them. And now they're going to hold him to it. And I just got to say, dog catches car.
Also, this person said that was a joke. So they just wanted to put it out there, but it was a joke. But I do think it's interesting for exactly the reason that you said, Alex. Like, it is quiet, like what's going on.
Elon recently tweeted that happiness is a choice. And so I took it to heart, and I'm no longer talking about Elon until further notice.
Love it. Happiness is a choice. Yeah. Every day we wake up and choose not to talk about Elon.
Well, I do love it when technology leaders also become political geniuses and philosophers, because certainly one layer of expertise was not enough.
Remember when they were all trying to be like public health professionals too?
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
All right, another question. With remote now being table stakes, will cities finally invest in their infrastructure to make public transit better, more reliable, useful, to attract talent?
I mean, here in Austin, we're not seeing that. It's a huge problem still. And the growth here is not something new. It's been happening gradually over time, and the infrastructure has woefully not caught up. So traffic is awful, lots of congestion everywhere. So at least if Austin's any example, it feels like, I mean, infrastructure takes a long time to get built, right? It's to be planned and to be built. So it's going to take a while, I think, for cities to catch up.
Natasha, what's the view from Columbus?
I can't speak for Columbus, but I do need to go back at some point just to get a temp check. But I agree with everything you said, Marianne.
Yeah, I still remember the first time I took the subway in London as an adult, and I was just blown away by the fact that it was like on time and clean and easy and lovely. And I was like, oh, I didn't know this was actually possible. Because up to then, my experience mostly had been in Manhattan, which is late and smells like pee. And so I was blown away that it is possible. And I'm encouraged to see some cities trying some small things. In Providence, near where I live, along the river, they took out one of the lanes of traffic and they built in this long bike lane. They've been investing in green spaces, and I'll tell you this, super popular. Like this small bit of work they've done to my adopted home city has been huge. Like, you go and people are there using it. There's people running, biking, picnicking, playing with their dogs. And so it's a thing that I think has such a high ROI. It's incredibly depressing that this country can't get its stuff together and pull off some more intelligent infra spend, because it would have such an impact, not just for us, but for our kids, for the future. Yeah. So it's a bummer.
Yeah, totally. And I know that we don't have too much time left, but there is one final question.
Sure.
I only skimmed, this is from Brian Weisberg. I only skimmed the TC piece about pro rata rights, but I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts about investors formally or informally passing their pro rata rights onto their LPs, and that might be what is driving the uptick in these. My hypothesis is that we will see an uptick in LP direct investments in the near future, though through this time of uncertainty.
Okay, should I unpack that slightly just to explain what Brian's saying?
Sure.
Okay, so I think what Mr. Weisberg is saying is that LPs who back VC funds may be a source of capital to fill pro rata rights that have been offered to the funds they've backed already, if those funds don't have the capital required to make that double, triple, quadruple down. And so he's asking to fill these now open pro rata rights. Will that be passed backwards from the investor that has the rights to their backers? I've not heard of this. Is where I'm sitting.
Yeah, same. In fact, I mean, I'm hearing the opposite. I'm hearing that lots of VCs are pulling back on investing in general because of pullbacks from their LPs.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of counter to what I'm hearing overall.
It's also like super, so like, let's say this is happening in his view. And it's such a contrast to something we published like a few months ago where it was this TC Plus op-ed by Vijay Chatta and Jay Kapoor about it's time to hold investors accountable and abolish pro rata, basically saying that, a lot of people don't deserve it. A lot of these VCs who just join and show up and get it don't deserve it. And we're just being too friendly with our founders are being too friendly with their pro rata. So it's kind of interesting to see that the inverse seems to be happening in which they're giving it to the LPs. Like do they not want it? I don't know.
I don't know, but to me, it is a shocking reversion from the you can't get pro rata rights in practice. And I used to see tweets from investors being like, it's really bad that late stage investors are stealing pro rata rights from early stage investors, and to now to the point when they're not getting filled. So, I mean, this is the job that we have this year. This is our job to figure out what the hell's going on. And I think right now the difficulty is no one knows, and there's not one theme, narrative, trend, direction to talk about. It's 88 things in 47 directions. And so we're trying to parse it, but I think it's also changing underneath our feet. So to Brian's question, the answer is maybe. And if we hear more about that, we'll write about it. I promise. I'll text you about it too. But like I at this point, that's new to me.
Yeah. Same.
I want to give some shout outs to people in the Twitter spaces, if that's cool.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay. So Ranjan, who is the co-author of of Read Margins,
Hey.
The Margins, is on the space, as well as Randy, White, Ali, Ayush, Narav, Sweta. So many cool people. Chris Gates was in there. Jacqueline's in there. Shout out to you, internal TC friend of ours, decided to show up other than other people, and Sophia Cheng. So thank you, everyone who came through to the Twitter space, and everyone on Hopin as well.
Yeah, these are fun to do. We'll be off for a little bit from the live show because of our off week, and then Natasha's on vacation and so forth, but we'll be back, and Equity will only be quiet error for a week, and then we shall return to our regularly scheduled hectic cadence, and that way we can keep Grace on her toes.
Love it.
I think we should go because my ears itch from my in-ear monitors, and I would like to itch them.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.